the next part that we are going to be getting into is the intermediate guide to Tryndamere. So, some things I'll be covering in the intermediate guide to Tryndamere. Effective wave clearing when shoving in a wave. I'm going to be showing you guys the wave management drill. How to effectively manage waves. Like, wave manipulation is key to top lane, and it's a big part of what Tryndamere needs to do in order to effectively snowball. I'm going to be showing you guys the warding spots. I'm going to be teaching you guys some basic macro. How you should be looking at a game. I'm going to teach you guys how to communicate with your team, even if they are brainless monkeys, as you guys call them. I'm going to show you guys some mistakes that are commonly made. I'm going to show you, mistakes that I've made, that a challenger player should never make, but, even that I make, at some times. I'm going to show you how to play from behind, and, I'm going to show you how to play the game if you just, the enemy top laner outclasses you. You cannot beat him in a 1v1. How you should play the game as Tryndamere from that point on. And if you guys did miss the beginner's guide, this will be a separate video. Right now, this is the intermediate guide to Tryndamere. So, if you want to do if you want to look at the beginner's guide to Tryndamere, please go ahead and watch the previous video on YouTube, or if you're watching on my Twitch channel, you can look back at my VOD of today. Everything is being recorded. So let's first things first. Let's show you how to effectively wave clear when shoving in a wave. So I'm going to be going into the practice tool. Let's see here, going to the practice tool. I'm going to show you how to effectively wave clear. So, this guide is made on patch 8.7. And so I will be showing you wave clear with the Tiamat build.
The power is undeniable.
Hey, Timo Slayer.
Coaching session.
Hey, thank you for the $20, dude. I appreciate it. I'll hit you up with that, man. Hey, thank you so much for 20. But let's go forward with how to effectively wave clear. So, when I take a look at I have done a lot of coaching for a lot of students, and one thing I have noticed when you guys are in game and you guys are shoving in waves, you guys don't shove as fast as you physically can. You guys take a long time to shove waves, and because you are taking a long time to shove waves, you have less time to do other stuff on the map. So let's get to a basic point in the game. So let's get ourselves to level 13. It says where max point E. Let's give ourselves 20,000 gold. Goodbye, Berserker Greaves, Tiamat, Famdancer. This is a pretty basic point in the game. I'm going to disable this for now. I'm going to fast forward in the game.
Minions have spawned.
I'm going to toggle minion spawn. So we're skipping to the mid game because this is the most important part when looking to effectively clear a wave as fast as possible. So we're just going to skip over the mid game. So we're going to go to about 20 minutes. This is when you should have your Berserker Greaves Tiamat Famdancer by. Hopefully you're already on your way to your Essence Weaver, but this is just pretty standard. The reason I don't have minion spawn on is because the training tool is bugged. If you have minion spawn on, you'll win the game in 7 minutes if you fast forward with minion spawn on. Alright, almost there. So this first part is showing you how to effectively clear a wave. Alright. Here we go. So minion spawn is back on. I'm going to show you guys how to effectively clear a wave. Alright. So let's get rid of this first turret first. Oh, the minions are level 0 still. Rip. Oh no, they're level. They have 738 health now. Let's get rid of this first turret because, like, in this point of the game, at 20 minutes, we'd be split pushing bot, which is opposite side of Baron. You know, we'll talk about that later in the guide. But this is where we'd want to be. Alright, so say we're just coming to the bot wave, and we want to shove it as fast as possible. We are going to auto-attack this minion until we can spin through it, kill it, auto-attack the ranged minions behind it, auto-attack Tiamat, and then take the cannon. That's for a cannon wave. You know, I'm trying to explain it while I do it, so sometimes I'll mess up. But you want to auto-attack the melee minions, spin through it, get to the range. That's essentially how you do it. So, let me go ahead and let the minions shove in a little bit more. Let me take top turret and show you guys up here. Do you guys notice how I'm pushing the wave as fast as physically possible? Alright, so again, there you go. That's how you shove a wave. So I'm going to let the waves kind of stack up. Now, for those of you guys who are, for whatever reason, not doing objectives as fast as possible, when you're doing an objective, this may seem like obvious to most of you guys, but I've taught even Diamond Tryndamere players who don't realize what they're doing. So, when you're doing an objective, use your spin. Because of the build, and because how Tryndamere works, your spin will come up as fast as possible. So make sure you're using your spin, like when you're taking objectives like this. Your Tiamat proc as well. So it's usually right after you auto-attack is when you'd want to use your spin. You're taking an objective as fast as possible. You know, say you're soloing Baron, and you got the solo Baron build. Let me show you guys that real quick. So you got Essence Reaver, got Ravenous Hydra, and you got Rageblade. Yes, you can solo Baron. Let me show you guys how. Hopefully I don't mess this up, but if you want to solo Baron, you got these items. Go ahead and build your Rageblade onto the Scuttle Crab. Also, you want to build your Fury on it. So you got 6 Rageblade stacks. And then here we go. Doing the Baron as fast as possible. Guys, notice how effective I'm being with my spin as well. So my spin comes up pretty quickly. There you go. That was without even ulting. So honestly, you probably just need Vamp Scepter. You probably don't even need the full Ravenous Hydra. But you guys notice how I'm spinning like right to the side on Baron? That way I can do the Baron as quickly as possible. Yeah, I'm not spinning like on the Baron or through the Baron. I'm spinning like kind of at a diagonal angle on the Baron. That way I can do it as fast as possible. So let me show you guys one more time. Let me summon the Baron. Can I do that? Oh, I guess I can't summon Baron. Game's busted. Oh, anyways, I showed you how to do objectives. I showed you how to effectively clear waves in this short little guide. Yep, so those are just some quick tips. So, alright, that concludes that part. The next part that we are going to be working on. This is the most important drill that you can do. And you can do it completely solo. This is going to be the wave management drill. If you're just tuning in on Twitch, or if you're watching from our YouTube channel, we have just gone over how to effectively wave clear when shoving in a wave. And we've gone how to do objectives, including Baron and Dragon, as fast as possible. Now, we are heading into the wave management drill. Things that we will cover in the wave management drill.
My right arm is a lot stronger than my left arm.
Hey, Dory Law, thank you for the sub with your Twitch Prime. I appreciate it. So, things that we will cover with the wave management drill. How to slow push a wave. How to freeze a wave. How to set up the first 2 waves to crash into turret. That way we can get an effective ward to prevent a jungle gank. So we can do this drill solo, and you can also try, like, the biggest learning curve of doing this drill is actually translating into games. But if you do this drill right before you go into a game, it's going to help you out a lot. So first, I'm going to do this drill solo. I'm going to show you guys how to effectively do it, how to effectively freeze, how to effectively slow push, getting the first 2 waves into turret. And then I'm going to teach my friend Steveo how to do it, just showing that everyone can do it, everyone can do this drill, and not just me. So, I will do this drill first in a training and practice tool. Alright, let's go and lock it in. Alright. So, right now what we are covering is the wave management drill. I'm going to do it solo, and then I'm going to do it with my friend Steveo. So, let's go and fast forward. And let's go to lane. So, in this drill, it'll be learning how to slow push, learning how to freeze, and learning how to get the first 2 waves into turret. So let me explain first why getting the first 2 waves into turret is extremely important. Then I'll also explain slow pushing, and I'll explain the freeze, and when to use it and why. So, the reason why, in matchups where we have the advantage, early levels, why we want to get the first 2 waves into turret. 1, if you get the first 2 waves into turret before the 3rd wave comes up, the wave will bounce back to us, which means we can directly control the wave from that point onward. So, let me show you that. So, when we're getting the first couple waves in a turret, we kind of hit the first wave a little bit. We build up Fury. This is the time where, right after we build up a little bit of Fury like this, we'd look to trade with our opponent. So for this one, we're kind of just last hitting. We're not pushing as hard as physically possible. We're pushing a little bit, but not too much. And the second wave that comes up, we shove as hard as possible. So you guys remember how we are effectively clearing waves? This kind of leads into that. Just shoving as hard as possible, trying to get all the CS possible as well. Now, it's very important that this wave crash into a turret before the next wave comes up. So you guys see the next wave come up here. Now, the reason why this is as important is because this wave is slowed down by my wave hitting the turret. Look at the wave position. the two things that effectively decide how a lane is going to push, whether to the enemy team or to the enemy side or to your side, is based off the number of minions on both sides, and number 2, on wave position. So, as you guys can notice, what happened is it bounced off the turret. That's what this mechanic is called, where the wave position gets set up so it's equal number of minions on both sides, but because of the wave position, the enemy team's minion wave is starting to slow push into us. This is going to lead into our next topic, the freeze. So, when we freeze, this is the exact spot where we want to keep the freeze at. So what am I doing now? I am thinning out the enemy minion wave. The reason why we do this, if we let the enemy minion wave get too big, the wave will be too hard to control and we won't be able to keep our freeze. You can freeze even with one minion, depending on wave position. But in this drill, we are going to be focusing on keeping this freeze till 7 minutes. So we want to hold the freeze for 3 minutes. So what I'm doing here is I let the wave, after it bounced off the turret, after we got the second wave into turret before the third wave came up, we let it bounce back. We get the freeze in the perfect spot. We thin out the minion wave, not too much, but just a little bit. That way we can keep the wave in a spot where we can effectively control it. So in this particular wave position, a good number of minions to keep alive is around 3 to 4 minions in order to keep the freeze. So I'm going to be hitting this cannon. I'm going to be thinning out the enemy minion wave. I'm going to let the enemy minions crash into mine, make sure they're auto-attacking my minions and not me. And boom. Yep, so the wave is currently frozen. If you let the wave crash in too deep, like I have it here, there's a chance that, random minion skirts past and gets hit by the turret. So this is a bad spot. You want to keep the wave controlled up here. So I'm going to let what happen is I'm going to let the minion wave just, yep, see, this is the reason why it's bad. The further you let the minion wave crash into your turret, the harder it is you're going to be able to keep the freeze. So when you're keeping an effective freeze, you want to let the wave stop around right here. And again with this drill, you're still going to be trying to CS perfectly, although that's not the focus of this drill. Focus of the drill is to control the wave as much as possible and to keep a freeze. So now this leads into our next part. Now that, look at the minions, the number of minions on each side is the exact same. But, remember, just like how the bounce worked, because of the wave position, my minion wave crashes into the enemy minion wave before the enemy minion wave can crash into mine. Which means that my minions are going to deal damage beforehand. So this is what's called a slow push. On a slow push, you only last hit the minions, depending on how many waves you want to stack. And on the last wave that you're going to crash into turret, you want to shove as fast as possible. So again, auto attack the first melee minion, and kill it with the spin and hit the ranged ones, and then go back for the other 2 melee. And that's the slow push. So what I showed you the bounce, I showed you the freeze, and I showed you the slow push. So that's what we did in this drill. So right now, let's go over when to freeze, when to slow push, and why we get the first 2 waves in the turret. I've kind of gone over why we push the first waves in the turret already, but let me go and explain it again. So, the reason why we get the first 2 waves in a turret before the third wave can crash into the second wave, 1, we're able to get the full wave into the turret. If you push too slowly, then the third wave is going to match the second wave before it gets all the way into turret, which means you won't be able to shove it all the way, which means the bounce will be ineffective. If you push too fast on the first wave, then the first wave will crash into turret before the second wave comes up. And that's bad as well. So we want to get the second wave into turret. That way we can get the perfect bounce. Also, if you get the second wave into turret before the third wave comes up, what ends up happening is you have a brief period of time of about 10 seconds before you have to go back to your minion wave, and that is the perfect time to ward against a jungle gank. And because when the wave bounces back to your turret, you have the option to soak EXP and not go for minions if the enemy jungle comes. Because the wave is pushing back to you, you will get the XP and gold eventually. Hey, Rossimus, thanks for a sub to Twitch Prime, dude. I appreciate it. So, that is why we want to get the second wave in turret before the third. And obviously, based on the matchup, some matchups you can't do this. But in 90% of Tryndamere's matchups, you will be able to get that second wave in a turret. A couple of examples of matchups where you can't do that or don't want to. Pantheon, Quinn, Jace, matchups that just like completely destroy your level 1. Trundle is another one. That like you have the option to like not do that. And obviously there are some jungle matchups as well that will look to gank level 2, say you're on blue side and your top lane, and they have a Twitch jungle who will probably start red buff and gank you level 2. Maybe you want to like not shove in the first couple waves. But yeah, for the most part. No, Jax and Gnar, you can shove in the first 2 waves against those matchups. Same with Teemo. Tahm Kench is another example of a matchup where you can't shove in all the way. That you want to let them just shove into you and just CS level 1. Not get the first 2 waves in a turret. But let's go over the freeze. So when do we want to freeze the wave? The number one reason why you'd want to freeze the wave is to keep the wave in a good wave position where you can get CS, and it puts the opponent in a spot where if the wave is kind of frozen, they have to overextend to get CS, which makes them vulnerable to jungle ganks. Number 2, you can freeze aggressively. What I mean by that is you want to freeze to try to set up a jungle gank, or you freeze it in a spot where if the enemy laner comes up and you have the advantage in lane, say like you got first blood, or you could just kill your opponent, then if they overextend, you just spin on them and run them down and kill them. And that way you get to use the length of the lane to run down your opponent. The third reason is, say, let's put this situation. Say you're in a matchup where if you start shoving it into the enemy opponent, then they have really good setup to set up ganks on you. So let's say like Malzahar top or something. Something like press R, you can't avoid it, can set up like easy ganks on you. You want to try to keep the wave in a spot where you're not overextending as much as possible. So that's like you can do it defensively, or if you know the enemy top laner had to back. This is more common. If you know the enemy top laner had to go back to base, then you can freeze the wave and until he comes back. And then you start a slow push and push in and get a reset. So that brings us to our next topic. When do we want to slow push a minion wave? Reasons why we want to slow push a minion wave are number 1, to dive the opponent, or number 2, to go back to base. Let's think of reasons why we can use a slow push to dive your opponent. Number one, when you're doing a slow push, you get a lot of minions with you, right? Because in a slow push, we're essentially stacking mini waves on top of each other. So if we're stacking mini waves on top of each other, that means we have a big wave that's going to crash into the turret. You can use those minions in a turret dive to help kill your opponent. So in a turret dive, when you're diving your opponent, you auto-attack your opponent, right? And most likely your opponent is going to auto-attack you back. When they do that, they take the aggro of all those minions that you had slow push in the turret, and they all deal a bunch of damage. Number two, when you're diving your opponent, and they got all those minions, if you kill your opponent, then they are denied all those minions because they are dead while those minions died to the turret. So even if you 1-for-1, which means if you trade kills, like you kill your opponent, but your opponent also kills you, it's worth for you because your opponent is denied all those minions. Number two, the second reason why you want to slow push is get a free reset. And just think about it. You remember how when we were talking about getting the second wave in the turret, before our third wave comes, that way it will bounce back to us? If we slow push a wave, the wave will bounce back to us, which means it will start pushing back towards us after all of our minions die to the enemy turret. Because the enemy wave will be in a wave position on the next wave, where it'll be close to their side of the lane, which means it'll slowly push back into us. So, if we can't dive our opponent for any reason after we slow push a wave, either we're too low, we have no sums, or we have no ult, wherever the case may be, we slow push, get a big wave stacked in the enemy turret, and then we go back to base. And because the enemy has to kill all those minions, we get a free base because he has to kill all those minions. He won't be able to shove the next wave fast enough where he would deny us any of those minions. So, number one reason to slow push is to dive your opponent. Number two is to get a free reset. So, with that said, let's go on and let's teach our friend Steveo the wave management drill. Alright, Steveo, are you here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Have you been watching? Do you know how to do the wave management drill?
I have been watching.
Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. So, Steveo, this wave management drill is very important. And I know you've played some other lanes in the past, and knowing how to manage waves won't just help you with top lane. It's going to help you as an ADC, as a support, knowing how the waves work. It's going to help you as a mid laner, it's going to help you as a top laner, and even if you jungle, knowing how the waves work is effective at knowing when to push a wave after you get a kill, or whether you should let your top laner push it in, or let the top laner freeze it, wherever the case may be. So this drill is just like a general game experience drill, can be used for any lane, for any champion. So go ahead and yeah, you can stay on the enemy team for now. I'll be showing you guys what he does. So go ahead and pick Tryndamere. Make sure you follow the Tryndamere runes. Alright. So we're going to do another iteration of the wave management drill. Instead, this time, my friend Steveo is going to do it. So Steveo, what is the first thing you have to do in the wave management drill?
I'm going to set up 2 waves to crash into your turret.
Before the third mini wave crashes, that's very important. If you mess up any part of this drill, we have to restart.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
So again, like you guys see where I'm standing. On blue side, when you're watching, you'll stand right here. If you are on red side, you could stand here or here. You stand here for the most part, but if your mid laner is also watching here, then you would watch here. That way you could just protect the buff. But our blue side is easy, it's just one spot.
Minions have spawned.
As you wish.
Alright, Steveo. So after we push the first 2 waves in the turret, what happens to the wave?
So the wave's going to hit the enemy turret, then start to push back towards me, at which point I want to freeze it on the wall on my side and maintain it there for multiple minutes.
Yeah, so, I mean, technically you can freeze forever. So what's the mechanic called? When you push the second minion wave in turret, what happens? What's that
Bounce
mechanic called?
back.
It's called a bounce. So it's called a bounce because it's literally like, wave goes in and bounces back towards you. So that's why we call it a bounce. So first couple minion waves, yeah, you're just like last hitting. You're not pushing in too fast, you're just building up fury. But on the second wave, we want to be, pushing as fast as possible. So as the next wave comes up, let's push as fast as possible.
I am your worst nightmare.
Gotta make sure I move my character every now and then so I don't get the AFK warning. Alright, now that you got the second wave in the turret, this wave will bounce back. Make sure not to, push the enemy wave. Make sure you don't take any of the creep aggro. Let your minions take the aggro. It's fine if you CS, but you have to CS at the very last possible second. Yeah, that's fine if you miss that. It's all good. This is the complete guide to wave management. So, this is the wave management drill. So, as you start to notice, the enemy minion wave is starting to pick up a lot extra minions. So, in this case, the enemy minion wave is slow pushing into Steveo. The CS will come, boys. Steveo has never played Tryndamere before. And I'm showing you guys how this guide will make anyone know how to learn Tryndamere effectively. So, wave is just slowly pushing. So, as it gets to the spot where you want to freeze, right around there where you're at right now, make sure you start thinning out the enemy minion wave. It's very important that you thin out the enemy wave because if it grows too large, you won't be able to control it. Just because it's so many minions. Alright, don't take creep aggro. The creeps aggro onto your wave instead. And let it push back in.
I am your worst nightmare. My right arm is a lot stronger than my left arm.
Yo, Dead Zombie 891, thank you for the sub with your Twitch Prime, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, so go ahead and mute your mic, Steveo. Just so we don't get Darth Vader breath. For some reason, if you don't talk for a while, your mic just starts picking up your breathing. So I just don't want that for you. Alright. So, we're getting to the point where Steveo now has a freeze. So Steveo can keep this freeze for as long as he wants. Now, he wants to keep at least 4 minions alive in this particular wave position. If he kills too many minions, then the freeze will end. I want Steveo to keep this freeze till at least 7 minutes. So he needs to just last hit here. Don't thin out too many minions. Also, he doesn't want to take the aggro of the enemy minion wave like he did there. Because every time he takes aggro of the enemy minion wave's attacking him instead of his minions, which will mess up the freeze. So, about 4 minions here, that's perfect.
Into battle.
Alright, it's getting to the point where Steveo has almost broken the freeze. It's very important that he only last hits from this point. He doesn't set up any minions or anything. It's very close. He might... Yep, he broke the freeze. So, we're not ending the drill here. We're just going to show Steveo the slow push. So, when in this wave position, when the minions are equal, what we're going to do is we're going to even out the enemy minion wave evenly. So, we've got 3 range minions and 3 melee. So, perfect. Just like Steveo has done here. Now we're going to slow push the enemy wave. So, we're just last hitting while we're waiting for the creeps to stack. So yeah, don't push too fast, because you can stack up to 1 more minion wave there, Steveo. Just go and shove it in now. But yeah, it's not on that wave that you wanted to shove all the way in, it's the next wave that you wanted to shove all the way in. So that's okay. So, Steveo has done the basics of the wave management drill. Obviously, this is his first time ever doing it. Steveo is new to Tryndamere, he is new to top lane. This is his first time doing it, and I think Steveo did a great job. Can I get some claps in chat? So, Steveo messed up a little bit, but that's to be expected. Hey, great job, Steveo. Let's go and exit this game.
Thanks.
So, on the wave management drill, you know, the mistake you made was you thinned out the enemy minion wave too much on the freeze. And then when we were slow pushing the wave, we could stack up to 3 minion waves there, and you only stack 2. Because you start hard shoving on the second wave of minions, when we can stack up to 3 waves. So it's like the third wave that we're going to shove as hard as possible. So, the basics of the wave management drill is all I want you to learn for now. You know, as you practice top lane, as you get better at top lane, for now, I want you to do like the CS drill. That way you get perfect CS. It looks like you're already like pretty good at that. I mean, you are like a silver/gold player. So, I mean, your CS is pretty on point. Maybe the best thing you need to work on is maybe CSing under turret, because that's going to be hard for everyone, including myself. I have to maintain like very good discipline to CS as well as possible. And then this wave management drill, you can do this by yourself in a custom. And this applies to everyone else as well. You guys can all just pull up a custom, do the wave management drill, and just work on your wave manipulation mechanics. And yes, it is mechanic, and you do need practice on it. Just knowing what's going on is different from actually applying it to in-game. So, and remember, when you're in-game as well, and when you're applying these mechanics, you're going to have an opponent they have to worry about too. But for now, like, focus on wave manipulation without an opponent, that way you can actually know the basics. So, alright, that will conclude my wave management drill guide. Next thing that I want to teach. I'm going to deafen myself, Steveo. Alright, next thing I want to teach. Let me go ahead and first say that this is my intermediate guide to Tryndamere. If you have skipped to this timestamp on the video, you know, or you're watching this on Twitch with me live right now, let me just say that what we have covered so far in the intermediate guide to Tryndamere. So far we have covered how to effectively wave clear and shove in a wave, how to maximize your damage versus objectives, Dragon and Baron, and we have covered the wave management drill, as well as covering the basics of when to freeze, when to slow push, how to freeze, how to slow push, and how you should control the lane in the early parts of the game. Now, we are going to be covering the warding spots. So these are all the ward spots that you're going to be using when split pushing in a game of League of Legends. This applies not only to Tryndamere, but to every other champion that split pushes as well. So let me pull up a training and the practice tool. And yes, I am Challenger, as you can see there. And let me go and pull it up.
My right arm is a lot stronger than my left arm.
Yo, Vimset QWERTY. Hey, thank you so much for subs through Twitch Prime, dude. I appreciate it. I hope you're learning something. So, next part we're going to be working on is wards. When to ward, where to ward, and at what point in your mind you're thinking, hey, I need to ward this spot at this time. So, let's go ahead and switch the scene to in-game. Let me go ahead and give myself all fresh cooldowns. Let me level myself up. Here's some gold. And right now, we are just working on wards. So I'm going to be turning off, I'm going to make the turrets invincible, turn off Tower Fire, turn off minion spawn. So, in this instance, we are on blue side. We are teaching the Tryndamere ward spots for blue side split pushing. So, for early game, when we are, you know, say this turret is still alive, and this is the early part of the game. The first ward that you want to place in lane is right after you get the second wave into turret, before the third wave comes. If you don't know how to do that, make sure you go back in the video, in my intermediate guide to Tryndamere, and watch how to do the wave management drill and learn, you know, why the second wave into turret matters before the third wave comes up. But, you know, after you get that second wave into turret before the third wave comes up the lane, this gives us a perfect opportunity to place our first ward of the game. So either we place the ward here, like that, and the tri-brush, that is a great spot to put a ward, since the plant that explodes people over the wall, it no longer spawns at 2:30, it spawns at 5 minutes now. So this ward covers the gank path for most junglers. Some junglers that you have to worry about extra. Invisible junglers, stuff like Shaco. I'm talking about early game, so Evelynn and Kha'Zix are not stealth. It's pretty much just Shaco, right? Or stuff that can walk through walls like Kayn. This ward is ineffective. Against junglers who like go invisible, or stuff like Hecarim, Rammus that just comes into the gank too fast, the ward that you want to put is deep in the enemy jungle. So you can put it like right here at red buff. You can put the ward over the wall at Krugs. You can even ward right here. By the way, it sees a little bit down there, but most importantly, it covers this part of the jungle. But for the most part, when you push a second wave into turret, the only ward you're going to have time for is this one, to put the ward into the tri-brush. You do also have the option, if you want to ward river, if you feel more comfortable doing that. But 95% of your wards should just go into the tri-brush at this stage in the game. So, let's talk about the next set of wards. So, let's pretend that this turret is dead, and we are split pushing to the next stage of the game. So, this turret is dead, we are pushing into this next turret. What do we want to be doing? We're going to shove this wave in, right? So, let's pretend we shove the wave in, we spun through minions, all that good stuff. Where do we want to place wards? This is the best pink ward spot in the game. For this point in the game. So right here for blue side, split pushing top, this is the best spot to put a pink ward. You can also put a regular ward here. And you can put the regular ward here. If you have a pink ward here, and you have a regular ward here already, you have the option to place another ward in this bush. That way you can see people leaving spawn. Or you can ward behind the turret if you think that maybe someone will come through lane to gank you. These are good warding spots for split pushing. Top lane, on blue side, while pushing enemy turret. So, after you get through this turret, you're going to be pushing into this last turret over here. Oh, also, a good spot you could also ward is here. That way you can see, like, say the enemy still has mid-turret, and you're pushing to this turret. You could ward here, or in this bush. That way you can see rotations coming straight up from the mid lane. But usually, this ward covers it. So this ward is like, you rarely use it. Make sure you always take this plant as much as possible. That way they don't flank behind you. But yeah, you want to be putting your pink here, if you have a pink. Otherwise, the regular ward, here, here, and here. Now, when we're pushing this turret, we basically want to be putting our ward here. And a ward potentially here, over the wall. And those are the only two spots we really need. And that's basically that. Now, say we're split pushing bot. Say for some reason, you're split pushing bot, and this first turret is still up. On the tri-brush, you're talking about this one, right? In the tri-brush, you want to place the ward directly in the middle. Okay, so let me show you what happens with the vision. So I'm going to get rid of that ward. If you place the ward ineffectively, say you put the ward here, look how little vision that gives. The vision cuts off right here, and doesn't give vision as far as you want to. But if you put the ward in the center of the brush, it gives you just a little bit of extra vision. So, just talking. Yeah, so Talking Lion made up a good point. But let's talk about split pushing bot side. So split pushing bot side, if you're at this point in the game, you hardly ever have to ward behind you. The main spots you want to ward is either like right here. This is like the most basic ward, or you're going to be shoving up and you're going to be putting a ward at their blue, like this. And if you put the ward here, it spots the blue buff and it spots the grump. Or you can ward here while you're pushing out bot. This shows rotations from mid lane, and if they come through here, through river, to gank you. So there you go. So after we've... Now, let me talk about... Okay, I actually forgot about a warding spot. So this is very important. So I'll be showing all the spots that you need to ward while diving. So let's go back to this one. If you are about to dive your opponent, and you want to scout for an enemy jungler that's potentially coming to help, you can ward here, or you can walk past and ward there to try to scout for the enemy jungler before you dive your opponent. For the bottom turret, you can ward here. Like, say you're about to dive the person who's covering the lane. You want to put the ward here to make sure they don't have backup. For this turret, like, obviously you can put the ward right here, right? To scout below you. But, alright, let me get rid of this pink real quick. So you put this ward below you, or, let me show you a cool ward. Let me just waste my wards here, so it gets rid of that one. This is, like, right before you dive, say you have a minion wave here, you're about to dive your opponent. If you stand right at the bottom of the turret, it's very important where you're standing. Look where I'm putting my mouse cursor right below this little tree. You can put a ward over this huge wall. This is the farthest you can ward in the game. This is a very specific ward that is gives you a very specific spot where you can ward and scout people like coming through here, coming around turret, coming from down here, or exiting this bush. And when you're diving on this turret, you can put a ward over the wall like that. But yeah. So those are spots like where you ward if you're diving. The Scar ward is irrelevant because it does not help us split push. These wards are intended for split pushing. So never in my life have I played Tryndamere and had to do the Scar ward. Which, I don't know where it is. I'm sure I could do this for hours and not find the spot. Feels bad, man. Alright, anyways. We're done with that. So, the next ward we want to place while split pushing. So, this is the one I showed you. So, next spot we want to go forward with. Say we took this bot lane turret. We're split pushing bot. Want to put the ward here. This is the most generalized ward that you can put. If you have a pink ward in your inventory, this is where you want to put your pink ward. There. It scouts rotations from mid lane. And if you have your pink ward here, the ward, instead of putting the ward here, you can place the ward a little bit up, right there. That way you can see entrances from their base. So, and again, I showed you the ward where you put while diving. So you put it there. And then, when you get to this spot of the lane, basically you're going to have, you could put a ward behind you, right here. Or, you could put the ward up here. When you're looking to dive this turret. Or to, put pressure on this turret. You can also have a ward right here. So that way you can look for rotations from the second turret mid. So here, here, and here are all the spots you need to ward, or can ward if you're pushing to this turret. So I believe that covers my guide, or my warding guide for. I don't think I missed any wards. If I missed some, then maybe I'll come back to it. But that concludes my warding guide for split pushing. I need to take a quick sip of water, so I'm going to need a lot.
You never stood a chance.